Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I record each Saturday 5 episodes. So please hit the like button, subscribe so you catch all 5 episodes. We usually start out with one theme or topic. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes to really understand it. Some things are more sensitive than others right now, what's going on in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe, and let's jump into this video.
And I was very happy to be able to go back and be able to pay that 10% again, you know.
Well, I think Jeff, that something too the listener should understand is that, you know, because I know that when I first started coming back, I know when my wife first started coming back, and my mother too, right? My mother gone 35 years, and she started coming back. The instructions that were given were pay your tithing and put your garments back on.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what happened to me too first. And
so you don't stop paying tithing until you are told you cannot pay tithing, right? We are to pay tithing until we're told not to. And that's so if you're coming back to church and you got to go through disciplinary things, you still pay your tithing, you put your garments on, right? And then if there's that discipline where you'd lose that privilege for a while, then that's when you would stop.
Right. Which is what happened with me. It'd be like when you're excommunicated from the church or disfellowshipped, both of those situations, you were told not to pay tithing.
Yeah, you lose that blessing. And I tell you, it is a blessing. It really is. I just, people say, well, how can it be a blessing? You got to give out 10% of your money. And you know, there was a time in my life where 10% of my money was a good chunk of change every month.
It still is for me, you know, but if you put that as a priority, things you will understand, you know, if you just, that's part of having faith. You're like, look, you know, I don't know how I'm going to make it. I don't know a lot of times. But still, as soon as I get that paycheck, I take that amount and I pay it. You know, it's automatic. And that's part of having faith, you know, and just going with it, you know, and you know, then the blessings do come. You know, it's like I mentioned before. I got these headhunters that tracked me down and said, hey, we think you're a great fit for this other company. Now I don't have to travel, you know, 150 miles, you know, every day. I can stay in my own vicinity. I'm making significantly more as a salary, and I have a better long-term opportunity to make a lot more money. You know, so it's just it doesn't always happen that way, but I'm certainly going to thank my Father in heaven for this opportunity and look at it as it's because I pay tithing, right?
Well, here's what I find. Like you said earlier, it's not always financially. What I find is that the doors of opportunity open. Now we have to be, you know, in a state of mind spiritually to be able to see those doors many times, right? So in paying your tithing, just paying your tithing and not living the law of tithing. In other words, the whole spirit behind living that law of tithing. He's like, you're working hard and you are striving to be obedient across the board. In other words, to the spirit, to the commandments, etc. And then the opportunities will show up. At least I say every time you pay tithing, the opportunities will show up either way. It's just you're not able to see them because you don't have the spiritual eyes to see them.
Yeah.
Right.
Good point.
And so I think that if we put those spiritual eyes on, I know for me that, man, I really, because in construction, many times, you know, with us, we get bigger projects and, you know, I don't get paid exactly sometimes month to month, right? Sometimes we got to stretch it out and go a little bit of time. Where we are right now, because we're just starting back over again after coming home. You know, we're a smaller company still. And so it's not that long that I have to go between when I get paid. But you know, when I get paid, then I pay my tithing. But it's interesting that we can go those lengths, like I talked about, and nothing can come in. And as soon as I pay tithing, opportunities open up. Now, it's interesting because not that I got a lot of phone calls, and I'll just say, give us an example. Not that we got a lot of phone calls. I'm starting to see economy tighten. We're starting to see things tighten up out here where I didn't think it really would. And it just all of a sudden, the brakes came on. And I'm seeing a lot more competition. And I can put 2 and 2 together where that's probably coming from. It's probably not legal competition here, but we're in a red county, not far away from a sanctuary city where they're shipping people in, right? And to blue it out. And so we're having more competition come up in the construction field. And that's a lot coming from what's coming across the border. So we're starting to see that wane. Now, and that concerns me. It does. And so I'm actually going back to school. Well, I'm not to school. I'm taking 3 courses to give us a little bit of a leg up to get 3 different licenses and what we can do. And then, then Dee is going to go and get her a different license as well with the contractors board, so we can broaden things out and try to give a little bit better of a base. Now, that being said, construction is what I did. I was a contractor when I was younger, and I'm going to get back to this. And yet, coming up in the executive field in the corporate world, and I'm back to construction again, it's like I'm in full circle. And it's kind of nice because my little ones, my middle children, didn't get to learn anything about the construction field. So they're not as self-reliant. I tried doing that kind of the last couple of years of their life, thinking, man, I didn't make them self-reliant in that regard at all. I did in other areas, right? Yeah. How to survive, martial arts and traveling and cultures and so forth. And when I say traveling, I'm saying studies abroad. Every year we did them. And so there were things we did different. And I tried to prepare them for food preparation and spiritually and so forth. But there's things I didn't get to do with them because I wasn't living with them. I lived down there. And they were up here, right? Now I'm with my last 2. They're with me, so it's a little bit different. But I'll come back around to tithing. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But what I find is this: this time the phone calls didn't come in. We got a few, and I went out to bid those, and I bid them actually a lot cheaper than I have been bidding because I felt that we're not getting the phone calls because of competition. And the last few jobs, I would be getting jobs, and we would pretty much just lock them in, book them out 4 or 5 months, 6 months out in front, and they'd stay there. Now, if I tell people, well, I'm 2 months from getting to you or a month and a half to getting to you, they find somebody else. They're finding people the next day, which tells me that people are showing up here that are hungry, because anybody who's established here has got work for the next year, right? Yeah. Or next month. So we were 2-3 months out still. And yet then the other day I bid a job cheap, and she comes back right away and says, no, we're going to go to a different contractor. I'm thinking, not a contractor. You're going to the person who's claiming to be a contractor. And I can only put 2 and 2 together what that probably is. I don't know for a fact, but that we're going to see that. Now, here's what happened with us. I'm concerned about it, thinking, wow, the summer's going to be a tough one then for us until we can make a transition to get out of this. And what I got was a guy from church. I'm going to tell you how opportunities open up. There's this gentleman, an older gentleman. He's 85 years old. I didn't even know he's a general contractor. I actually thought that they were in real estate, he and his wife, and which his wife is, and he helped her, but he is a general contractor. Anyway, we got along well. He loves my little boy, and we've just chatted before, and I'm actually assigned to them as a family. They were going through some health issues, so I haven't seen them really around a while. And then I see him at church, and I'm like, hey, how you guys doing? How are things? And we're talking, and we do like a linger longer every 3rd Sunday where you stay a little longer and you have like a potluck type of thing, right? And I'm just sitting there, and he just points at me and he says, come over here. He's on this side of the gym. And so I looked at him like, okay, because we talk, but sometimes never like, he just pointed me, come over here. So I got walked over. He said, hey, what are you doing Wednesday? You want to go with me on this job? And I thought, man, I got Wednesday set aside to go fish with my kids. I was going to take a day off. Finally, since Christmas, I've been like 2 months working 6 days a week. And it's like, I'm taking a day off and going to fish with my kids. And I happened to look at the weather forecast before I went in there. For some reason, I felt prompted to see what the weather outlook was. And it showed Wednesday it was going to be raining. So, I guess I'm not going to go take my kids fishing. I'm going to probably just work around the house or do something inside, or, work on our tours or Book of Mormon tours. And I'll do that kind of stuff then, right? We'll play it by ear. And he says, well, you're going to Wednesday. You want to come with me? And I just felt this really calm feeling tell me, go with him. He said, yeah, this was my plan, but I'm going to go with you. He said, we'll be back by 1. I said, great. I can still go do something with my kids in the afternoon. So I went with him, long, short. I don't know why he asked me to go with him. It was all work he could do. But he took me with him, and he asked me to do the work. And then he wanted to pay me afterwards. And I said, no, you don't have to pay me. So he said, well, let me take you to lunch. We went to lunch. While we were working, a guy calls him up, and a client of his calls him up, and I hear him talking and say, well, we're not going to be able to do this job for you. I just can't find another contractor who's going to do it with me. And at my age, I can't do this job. So he hung the phone. I said, what do you got? He said, well, this guy wants his whole roof taken off. We got to raise it up 4 feet, put the roof back on again, and then build a new addition. And so anyway, it's about 6 months worth of work. I said, so what's the problem? He said, well, I can't do it by myself, and I can't find anybody to do it with me.
I thank you for being with us on Courageous Conviction. Remember, there's 5 episodes each week that we put out. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes, so stay with us, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and don't miss tomorrow's episode on Courageous Conviction.